Well, the last thing you'd ever expect on Skinny Wednesday is a diet heavy on butter, canola oil, and bacon. Ooh. Sickening.
Well,
as Laurie Johnson explains, that diet may have helped save one young boy's life. Watch this.
Max Irvine enjoys life as a normal 4-year-old boy. But just last year, more than 100 daily epileptic seizures were deteriorating his brain.
Last November, he basically stopped talking, and then he stopped walking, and he just started losing all of his skills.
And there were times where I would pray to God that he could either make him better or take him home, because I just couldn't stand to see him go through what he was going through. And there were many times where I asked God to give it to me.
Max seemed to be in perfect health until his seizures began at age 2. His doctor offered little hope.
He told us that our son would be mentally challenged the rest of his life, and that all we could do was really put him on a bunch of good, strong medicines.
So he was just miserable, and we had a lot of times just pray, we didn't know what to pray for even some days, and when people would ask us, and we would just say, pray for a miracle.
The Irvines brought their son Max here to the world-famous Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and joined forces with a doctor who specializes in epilepsy in children. What they came up with was a treatment that is unconventional, even within the medical community. Dr. Elaine Worrell kept Max on his medicines, but also put him on a ketogenic diet, which was 80% fat.
We think it probably stabilizes the nerve cells themselves. By using the high fat, it stabilizes the energy level in the brain and helps the seizures. There's also some evidence that certain types of fats, something called polyunsaturated fatty acids, are good for the brain.
The diet plus medicine combo was only slightly better than medicines alone.
I just really knew that God was always there, and I knew that if we listened, He would guide us.
We were kind of noticing patterns in the day when things would be worse, for seizures, for his behavior, and it was usually right after taking his medication.
His parents came up with the thought of, well, what if we try him off medication and just let the diet work on its own?
The doctor agreed to the unusual request, and when the pills stopped, so did the seizures.
And he started to talk that night, and I'll never forget it, to hear his little voice again. He just said, "Daddy's at work, Daddy's at work." And he kind of was. He was at a meeting, but he was talking. And I just remember crying, thinking, I heard his voice again, and I never knew if I would hear his voice again.
That was over a year ago, and the diet continues to heal Max's brain. This is a typical breakfast for Max, a lot of butter, bacon, oil, and a small amount of fruit. And although it is food, for Max it's more like medicine and needs to be weighed and administered very carefully. In the body, a ketogenic diet basically mimics starvation and was even the basis for the popular Atkins diet.
In the Bible, in Mark chapter 9, it talks about a father who brought his son to see Jesus because the son was having seizures. And Jesus told him that the only way to heal him is through prayer and fasting. And fasting is actually what the ketogenic diet does to your body. So we truly believe that what Jesus told that man to do for his son is what we have done for our son.
Dr. Worrell believes this diet is the only thing that cures epilepsy compared to pharmaceuticals that merely treat the symptoms. The ketogenic diet is now being considered as a healing agent for other types of neurological disease, including brain cancer, but it is not recommended for improving the brain functions of healthy people. Christine developed a website and uses it to teach other parents the ins and outs of the ketogenic diet.
There's so many people that we owe so much to that have helped us, and now we're kind of on the other end of it, helping other people.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Max is slowly being weaned off the diet without any side effects.
Max will say that. We will win. He calls it epily. We will win epily, he says. But yeah, that's our goal.
Laurie Johnson's with us now. Laurie, this is wild. I mean, bacon, waffles, This is a diet that's going to heal people?
Well, this is the ketogenic diet, and it's really for medicinal purposes. So because of the high cholesterol count, it's really not recommended for healthy people, and they are trying to wean max off of it because of the high cholesterol. But fat, like the doctor was saying, the polyunsaturated fat is very good for our brain. And, you know, our brains are made up of 60% fat. So if someone calls you a fathead, don't be offended. Say thank you. We want that.
Thanks very much.
I know that would never happen to you.
Oh, well, unfortunately, you have no idea what the press calls me. But, hey, that's interesting. Well, now, you have with you some fish oil.
Right.
Is that the one that this little boy was using? Was it
Well,
fish oil?
he is having a lot of different fats, but for healthy people, the polyunsaturated fats are highly recommended. In fact, there have been many studies. The most recent one was released this past July that shows DHA, which is an omega-3 fat, actually prevents memory loss in old people. We already knew that DHA helped in learning in young people, so DHA is what you're trying to go for. The only problem is DHA is most abundant in fish, and unfortunately fish also contains mercury. If you eat too much mercury, then you can get really sick, so doctors really recommend supplements, fish oil supplements.
Somebody gave me an article about the fact that if they get old, that they can do a great deal of damage. Did you know about the shelf life of a DHA?
I haven't heard about the shelf life of DHA, but you know our friend Dr. Michael Roizen, who's the wellness director at the Cleveland Clinic, he is very pro-DHA, and he recommends normal healthy people eating about 600 to 900 milligrams of DHA a day. Now these fish oil pills that I brought, now what you want to do if you go to the store, you want to look on the back and see how much DHA is in them. These particular ones contain about 250 milligrams of DHA a day. I take these every day. I take about 3 or 4 every day.
So Roizen says 3 of them would do
right.
600?
You want about 600 to 900 milligrams of DHA. Some people, including Dr. Roizen, like the algae DHA. Just one of these pills has 900 milligrams of DHA in it because fish get the DHA from algae. So either way you want to go. It's overwhelming when you go into the vitamin aisle of the store. I know you probably haven't been lately, but trust me.
Oh, I go.
It's crazy.
I'm
so
one of their great customers.
Yeah, so these are really well worth the investment.
Well, you're talking here about Alzheimer's, various other types of mental disorders?
Absolutely. They're saying that they recently released the results of this study that was done, and they tested people over the age of 55. It improved their memory, it reduced their memory loss, which is something that we know happens when we age, and it may even be considered as a treatment for the early stages of Alzheimer's. So it's very exciting, and we already knew the benefits of DHA for learning in young children. So get your DHA. DHA.
Laura, you're terrific. Okay, well, thanks for being with us, and now we go over to Christy.
Absolutely, Pat.